Okay, today we'll be talking about air compression in engines. The first option we have is a turbo. Turbo uses exhaust gases coming from the engine to spin a turbine, as shown here, and that turbine spins another turbine on the other side that brings in air, and once it comes in, it gets compressed and pushed into the engine. A supercharger does something similar, but is connected to a crankshaft, and instead of using one small turbine, it has two that spin towards the middle, and as they do, they compress air and push it back into the engine. No, the are not the only ones who use them. The initial purpose was for planes, because once they reached a certain altitude, they didn't have enough oxygen and fuel mixture, so they were running very lean. But yeah, they were running rich due to not having enough oxygen. Jet engines, many of them use the propulsion uh, the propulsion of the plane. As it is being pushed through the air, it makes a turbine spin, and that as that turbine spins, it compresses air. And here in the back, that's where where the fuel is added to the air so it can burn. Why is it good? It's good because in newer cars like this Honda, it has a small 1.5-liter engine. Although it is small with a turbo, it can be a fun and enjoyable car to drive, giving it more power than it would without compression. Pros and cons. One con about a turbo is that you have to wait for the exhaust gases to reach the turbo in order for the compression to start. You also have to have a certain amount of exhaust gases coming out so that the turbine can spin at an appropriate speed so that it can bring in air compressed. It Another issue with turbos and superchargers is that when you compress air, you're increasing how close the molecules are to each other. So that creates heat, as shown as this in this picture. That heat can be combated using an intercooler, which is basically it uses water to dissipate heat. Some use water, some use air to dissipate heat. Cons of superchargers, on top of them heating up as well, is main is mainly um is that they're driven by the crankshaft. So these smaller engines will be suffocated if you try to put a supercharger on them. For the most part, you can only use superchargers on bigger engines like V6s with 5.0s and other ones and V8s. Are they fun? Well, of course they're fun. Turbos help smaller engines create more power with what they have, basically increasing displacement, which is how much air and fuel you can have in one place. Although you need to make the engine stronger so that it can withstand the compression of the turbo, it can make small and or old engines have good displacement and create much more power than they would originally.